This is the 262nd episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the first week of May 2017. This episode is titled Cinco de Podo. CloudFocus Week is brought to you by Clone This User. Duplicates you'll love. Clone an existing Salesforce user with a click of a button by the desktop or in Salesforce One mobile. Available for free on the App Exchange, or go to www.clonethisuser.com. All one word, all lowercase. That's where you'll go find the app. It's free. Throw it in your org. Have a good time, sir. I'm your host, Jason Atwood. Joining me, co-host for way too many podcasts in a row, Justin Elstein. Justin, how are you doing today?
I was waiting for that.
Sorry, I know.
Why didn't you wait about 2 seconds to take a sip out of your coffee, out of your certified professional Salesforce mug?
I know.
Look at that mug.
I'm pretty
Salesforce
out today.
Now. What's under that sweatshirt? I don't want to see a bear. Oh, really?
Some.
You're like the server bear. There's a server bear under that sweatshirt.
Pretty much, yeah. I love this. I guess it's the Summer 16 MVP
event. It has the Einstein logo on it before we knew what that was.
Right.
It was like, what's this squiggly line thing? Oh,
right.
I guess it's Einstein.
So speaking of Einstein, we have a couple of things to talk about on our agenda today. It is a terribly rainy Friday here in New York.
It is pouring.
We are sitting in studio.
You probably hear it.
Studio C.
I call this Studio 27F.
Oh, that was too much. But it's Studio C. Can't wait for Studio D.
B.
A is at work. B is my place. C is your place.
Oh.
D might be
Studio 6H.
Right, maybe.
I don't know what that is. That's from,
anyway,
is that the SNL studio?
We are looking out at Manhattan, or what we can see of Manhattan, and from our studio.
It's smoky
and
cloudy,
it is pouring down outside. It's like this whole storm today. Glad it's over 30, because otherwise this would be a foot of snow. So that's what's going on with us. But we've had the big week, so let's get started at talking about stuff. We got a couple blog posts to talk about. We got the world tour. And then we got a little shout out to something that you went to yesterday.
I did.
Right? Last night.
So
I know nothing about, I know something, but very little.
It's been like a big, crazy week.
Yeah. And then we'll make our picks and we'll get out of here on the Friday. TGIF, baby. Yeah. Oh, it is also, not today, but yesterday, it's Cinco de Mayo. And yesterday was
Cinco de Quattro.
Was May the Fourth, Star Wars Day.
I'm gonna go with Cinco de Quattro.
I love Star Wars Day.
Really? What'd you do for Star Wars Day that you loved it so much?
I've said it to many people. I was at a place last night where the waitress wore a Star Wars T-shirt and she carried around a lightsaber and she bought us a drink.
That's her job.
No,
bringing you drinks.
Read my lips. No new taxes. No. She bought us a drink.
Oh.
For I said bought. Said it again.
I thought you said brought.
Bought.
With an R.
No R.
Soft R?
There's a Z in there somewhere. Is that a niner in there somewhere?
Definitely. What'd she bring you? Like gin and a lot of tonic water? It's
a lost art. But there are still bars in this world. Actually, you know where we were.
Where were you?
Reed Street. The Reed Street pub.
Oh, wow. Why'd you go there? Oh, I know why you went there. You went there with somebody who you were reminiscing about going there with.
Right. So we went back to the place to reminisce about the place.
The buyback is a lost art. I think that's where you were going.
Yes.
The buyback.
The buyback. And usually it's not waitresses. That's because they don't do that. Because they can't just make a new drink.
Right. It's the bartender.
Bartender usually does a buyback. For those who don't know what we're talking about, a buyback's when you go to a bar or whatever and you buy a couple drinks and then the bartender buys you one back. And some bars have it as their part of their culture, and it's a number.
Yeah. Buy 3 drinks, you get a 4th.
And they'll even when you buy your 3rd drink, they'll then take a shot glass and they'll put it upside down next to you and be like, that's for me.
Or like a bottle cap or something.
Something to indicate that you have a drink coming to you. really, I mean, it's a marketing ploy because all it's saying is, hey, I know if I can get you to stay for the fourth, then you're probably in for a fifth because four is
And my tip's going to be nice.
and my tip's gonna be nice, right? So I'm basically making you stay longer, and it works. I mean, because you're like, now we've had four.
So how many did you go for? How many buybacks did you get?
Oh, I think it's only one buyback.
Just
I don't
one.
remember what number it was, but she was definitely keeping
7.
track because I was being lapped by the person I was with.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was having like a cocktail and he was having like just beer. So he was definitely going faster than I was, and he got his buyback first.
Oh.
And then I'm like, what about my buyback? And then she had the whole lightsaber thing. So it's all relative.
All right. Do you want to talk about stuff that's not you?
No. Next week on CloudFocus Weekly.
Thank you for downloading. See you next week.
Stuff that's not about me. I've also been back to back all week long. That's why my voice has kind of gone. I've been just talking. So speaking of talking, let's talk about a blog post on blog.arkusinc.com. Samantha, we're going to call her Sam Saffin, SS, around the town, wrote Getting Started with Speaking at Events. So not necessarily a Salesforce event, but of course that's really where it goes because we're a Salesforce consulting firm, and really neat. Like I guess maybe a little kimono opening, or maybe I'll unzip the.
No, don't do that.
Unzip a
Oh,
little bit. All
put
right,
it
there we go.
back on.
But we allow people to basically blog about what they want. They get to pick their topic. They get to sort of put when they're going to blog. So sometimes people blog about stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, really? And then sometimes.
Sometimes they just pick their top 10 from the year before and just publish it as a list.
Sometimes they punt.
Sometimes they do that.
Well, we got some feedback we'll talk about the World Tour in a second, but there was some fun gamesmanship as one of our loyal listeners and readers of the blog was like giving out huge compliments. It's like, oh, you're the best blogger. But then I think he turned to the next person and said, no, you're the best blogger.
Definitely didn't turn to you and say you're the best blogger.
Listen, I am certainly, first of all, I have the most volume other than you. I think you and I have the same volume. You might have one or two more.
One or two, like over the last 7 years. Like,
Yeah.
you think it's that close?
Yeah, I think it's that close.
Might be.
Yeah, because
I
I've
used to
also
write
thrown
them
in
all the time.
Right, we used to write every other 2 weeks. Oy. I just wrote one today.
Good for you.
I took over yours because you weren't going to do it. I was like, well, if you're not going to do the one, we need to do it. It's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
All right, so Sam talks about
Get to this already.
speaking. I'm here. I'm talking. Well, you go ahead. You talk.
Well, you were talking.
It's your employee.
Just do your thing.
Talk about her.
All right, getting started with speaking at events. Wonder where this came from, Sam. So, she just throws some tidbits out there why you might do it from a professional development perspective,
Yes.
meeting new people. Always good to speak. Whenever you speak in front of people, someone's going to come talk to you afterwards. You never know who that person might be. It's kind of cool.
I was actually thinking it's been a while since I spoke at Dreamforce, and
Me
I know
too.
now it's like a whatever. It's crazy now.
I don't even know how you speak.
That's
at
right.
Dreamforce now.
I don't
It's
know.
nuts. You end up at one of those little like theaters somewhere.
Well, that's why I like doing the. It's been years. I was kind of thinking maybe it's time that I do it again, like that I speak at Dreamforce. But I was like, but the booth thing is fine. Like we'll talk about the World Tour. I find that just as good.
Yeah.
And it's 3 hours.
Well, she talks about starting small. So if you're involved in a local user group, volunteer. I want to speak.
Yes.
I want to present on this. I'm an expert at this. Let me present on
Right.
it. Go to a community event. So, Midwest Dreamin' or a Philly Force or a whatever Dreamin' out there. And there's so many of them I can't keep track.
Did I see one like in
Surf Force. Like there's
That's-
a billion of them,
Yeah.
right? So I can't keep track of them, but they exist. They're there, and they need speakers because that's the way to attract people. Like, hey, we actually have breakout sessions where
Right.
people will be speaking. So come attend and watch them speak. Plan ahead. She gives all the tips. Plan ahead. Ask for
What's your
feedback,
tip?
things of that.
What's your speaking, public speaking?
I'm always big on preparing. Like if I know that I've gone through what I'm going to say over and over again, I feel very confident standing in front of the people saying it. And I might not say exactly what I plan to say, but as long as I've gone through in my head the top points that I want to hit, I'm going to make sure that I hit them, and also like reading the room. So if you throw like a dry humor joke out there and it just doesn't land at all, even though in your mind that was funny, maybe try something different the next time. Like, don't go with the dry stuff. Maybe like something a little different.
Is the opposite of a dry joke a wet joke? And really,
Yeah.
is that a thing?
Yeah, like more of like a real like to the punch joke as opposed to a an
Clean
off the cuff
podcast.
thing.
Please keep it clean.
I haven't said anything that wasn't clean.
Keep it clean.
I'm done with you.
All right. So anyway, that's on blog.arkusinc.com. Thanks, Sam. Next up, James wrote a two-part series because this was a lot of work. So James Bejoled, who wrote a blog post on a Talend and PostgreSQL data migration dream team. So it's a lot of information here. I'm not going to. This is like one of those. There's some that you can go just peruse. This is one if you need it, you should go read it. And there'll be a part 2, I think, next week.
Yeah, so it should be. He's written both parts.
Yes, he's written both parts. But just as a throwback, well, Talend's an ETL tool, so like Informatica, right? It's but it's a open source one, so it's kind of fun. And then PostgreSQL, for those who don't know, is a SQL open source SQL tool, and so he's using them together to basically do work and migrate data. So having Talend be to and from and in and outside of Salesforce. So Talend be the one that moves the data, and then but being able to throw it into a relational database, so I can then process things off of it and then back into Salesforce or migrate the data. Very cool. We've been working with Talend for a couple years now, and I work with a lot of ETLs. It's very good. It's open source, and I think sometimes open source can be a little raw, and I think that's what it is, just a little raw. Once you get into it and you get to use it, it's very good, but it has a little bit of like, it's a learning. It's not as just Informatica or Actian or Boomi or Data Loader IO or any of these ones. They're very just click, nice, drag, drop. Talend's a little bit more like, yeah, you got to learn this, and we have a lot of power, but you better install that Salesforce module so you can work. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Anyway, so thanks, James. Again,
thanks, James.
He's going to give like very detailed the next one, but this is on our. We should call this our developer series because this is definitely more of the developer than why you want to speak at Dreamforce. Right? All right. That's our blogs. Next week, actually, so I guess it'll be 2 blogs next week because I'm going to do my release notes rapid reaction for summer 17, 541 pages. You're just shaking your head. They can't see you shaking your head.
My head is shaking.
Okay.
Nodding backwards and forwards.
A couple I found that I was like, ooh, that's fun. It's hard to like get through all the lightning stuff.
Whatever. It's like 200 pages of introductions to like real content. So it's not really 500 pages.
No, it's not.
It's like 100 pages.
But that's how we judge them. We always look and we're like, oh, look, that's how big it is. It's the preview, so it's possible to go up or down. So we'll talk about that, and then there'll be the post too. So those will be fun things for next week.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, you just did.
Are you ready to become a trailblazer? Are you ready to become a trailblazer?
Am I supposed to answer that question?
I don't know. I asked it. You can answer it.
No, I'm not.
All right. Well, you're going to be left behind.
Okay, are you spinning this into actually talking about something?
Yeah, Salesforce One Tour. It happened in New York City this week.
Yes, Tuesday.
That was a main theme.
Yes.
Trailblazing. Blazing your own trail. Getting a job. Talking about, like, the Salesforce economy. The big thing that they're pushing out the door. Like, building up this economy that... they had stats, and I didn't write them down, but they were big numbers.
Good job.
By 2020. Big numbers. Big economy of
basically people in the ecosystem of Salesforce.
Yeah,
developers,
admins, consultants, salespeople, whatever, resellers, ISVs, SIs, the whole nonsense, the whole nonsense,
You
the whole
say
shebang.
Nonsense.
It's all there, and they were talking about it like, we have the numbers, we've calculated it. This is a big deal, people. So go learn stuff. And use Trailhead to do it.
Right.
And they actually talked about the whole branding and why they went.
Oh, they did?
They did, and it was
Did they
insightful.
acknowledge that it was kind of like strange?
No, well, they, in a weird way, they acknowledged, they're like, you'll notice around, everything is now branded like Trailhead, and because Trailhead's a big forest, and in the forest we have all sorts of different people, not people, but different animals and different species all living together in harmony. Server bears. So when you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, it's an equality thing.
That is someone taking something and spinning it.
Well, what I
think happened is they built Trailhead. They took the words and went trails, and they went forest, and they went, okay, and we'll do a little branding, and people caught into it. And then trailblazing came up, and then people went, oh, that's kind of fun too. And then most things like Salesforce does, they got a little caught up in it. Like they got caught up in Lightning, they got caught up in Chatter, and so they kind of like, it became everything.
Well, you had the admin meadow, and you had the developer forest, and everything was branded that way. But in the keynote room, they had it all lit up.
Right.
Like all the beams and poles were like lit up like trees.
They did that Dreamforce.
Yeah. So they did the whole thing.
I get it from a marketing and branding perspective. I think, again, sometimes Salesforce does things that I kind of question. This one I kind of question because it's a little, I don't want to say childish. I want to say...
Don't say it then. You just said it. Why'd you say something you didn't want to say?
Is it childish or is it like...
Not childish.
Immature?
It's not immature either.
Like,
I know what you're going for.
But this is a company that is... I know it's selling enterprise software, right? Yeah. It's selling, to massive corporations, and small corporations and nonprofits, but it's software. And I think it's kind of losing sight of the software side of things. So almost the brand of Salesforce is now Trailhead, and it's based on a product that isn't a product. It's based on a thing that doesn't have any revenue associated to it. Right? It's a huge loss leader for them. They're putting tons of time and money into it. Eventually, they might turn it into some sort of product. But right now, you can't buy Trailhead.
Yeah, but this is where the whole economy comes into play. It's like you can't have a mega software corporation that sells this all these products where people don't know how to use them, or like instead of use them, configure them or develop on them or whatever. So it's a good loss leader for them.
It's a way to increase adoption. It's a way to increase participation
and get people to learn it.
Right.
And become interested in it.
I get
for
that.
Free.
I get that.
For freezies. Like, how do you learn, I don't know, how do you learn other things for free?
Most companies that put out development platforms leave a very low bar to get into them because that's how you get developers, right? You don't say, oh, you have to spend millions of dollars to start to develop. Most give you a free, right? So they give you something like the development tools for Apple. I think it's $99 to become a developer. At Microsoft, they made them free. Like, this is a very common thing. Java's, you can just go download Java and start pounding away at Java. So it's not that, and it's not that Trailhead exists. I think Trailhead's great. I was pointing clients to it the other day. We went through a personal training, like I trained on reports and dashboards, and I said, and here's Trailhead, right? Look at all the great. You can go and actually do these things and learn it. I've trained you. I've shown you stuff. I've given you the tips and tricks and things that Trailhead won't teach you because they don't. It's not about kind of like years of experience. It's about how do you do functional things. I'm very fascinated about how they're branding, like how it's not even Salesforce anymore. It's like Trailforce. It's the company is Trailhead. It's just weird.
Trailblazing. They also made some announcements.
Okay, like what?
Well, they kind of officially announced the Salesforce Tower, NYC.
Okay. Oh yeah, the one in Bryant Park.
Yep. So they really they put a whole video up about it.
Nice.
We are dedicated to New York, this market, New York City. This is big time for us. This is our stake in the ground. This is our tower. And they had, I think it was Astro, go around like the city and Times Square and like make its way over to the building, and then went up to the roof and flipped a switch, and the Salesforce sign lit up. And then they had shots from all around where you could see the branding on top of the building.
Trailhead, right?
No, Salesforce.
Oh, okay.
that's funny. Yeah, there was a good keynote. It was keynoted by, different people. So President Legal and General Counsel Amy Weaver and Chief Equality Officer Tony Profit. So it wasn't Keith Block, it wasn't Parker, it wasn't Mark.
Right.
It was, two other people in New York City. Like that, that's a big one to just hand off.
Right.
You're going to have a big audience there. I wonder who'll do it in Boston in about a month or so.
All right.
See what happens. I stayed for most of the keynote. They did announce a new App Exchange partner program that I have to dig into a little bit, see what the nuts and bolts of that are. It sounded on the surface like it would be a good thing for partners, but you never really know until you dig in. And they did a really nice presentation of a couple of different client stories, and then they did other keynotes, like more product specific keynotes around. I think there was one for service, one for marketing, and one for financial services, actually, where they showed off. Actually watched video of some of the FinServ one, which was pretty neat. They were showing off a mobile app for Cumulus Bank, but it was pretty cool. Yeah, fake bank, but real product.
Right.
It was interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
We both ran booth. Oh, you didn't do a booth. You did the Trailhead quick starts.
I did. Yeah, it was a little different. It wasn't quite a booth. It was more in the expo. They had, as part of the campground, they had the, like I said, admin meadow and the developer forest. And in between, there was a Trailhead quick start. So you basically, that was your entry point into either the meadow or the forest. And what you
don't feel foolish saying this over and over again?
I'm going to keep saying it. So if you wanted a free Astro doll, you had to go complete a couple of things. And one of the things you needed to do was go sign up for Trailhead and do a module.
Right.
And there were quick start modules, and you had to do one module, just get points, not a full badge. Some people stayed and did the full badge, and they got a special New York City Salesforce One badge.
I was for that. I would have done it.
And really, what I was doing was helping people sign up for Trailhead and get them started and log in for the first time and show them how you can spin up your playground orgs and how they're connected, and then get them down the path of doing something, whether it be reports and dashboards on the really simple level of like building out a report and a dashboard, building out lightning pages, some of the developer stuff. It wasn't like super developer stuff. It was more, click, not code developer stuff. But it was fun helping people get started down the trail, if you will. And then I sent them on their merry way, whether they were focusing on admin or developers, like go one way or the other and go talk to someone over there, which was you.
I was over at the mobile admin booth.
That's your favorite booth?
It's my favorite booth. Well, because I like it because it's very specific, because you don't get people coming up and asking about Process Builder at the mobile admin booth, which I think I actually did have someone come up and ask about Process Builder. Not that I don't like Process Builder, but I don't want to answer Process Builder. Like, I have a process that won't update a record. You're like, this is not something I can handle at this booth. But you get to talk about I think most people don't know about Salesforce A. They just don't. They know about Salesforce 1 Mobile sometimes, but then Salesforce A, as admins, it's great. Like, it's a nice app. It works. It does what it does. It does it pretty well. And so I talk about that. And then, of course, it's a great way to plug Phoneless User. It's another free app. It's mobile first, so it works on the mobile, Salesforce 1 Mobile, but it's a mobile story. So talk about those, and then that's really it. So I use that. It's great because Salesforce 1, World Tours now are like mini Dreamforces, and Dreamforce, all I do is sort of see people who I haven't seen in a while. So next year for Dreamforce, I've already have it designed. We're going to do Salesforce Bingo, or Dreamforce Bingo, which is where we're all gonna have bingo cards and at Arkus, and then there's gonna be people in all the spots, and like in the center will probably be Benioff or something. And if you meet them or see them there, right, you get to mark off your bingo spot. So I was like, as I was walking around, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great because there's some people I haven't seen in years, and
I feel like this has been done before.
Yeah, but we're doing our own version. Like we're putting in people who like
Our people. Arkus people.
Yeah, funny like people like our friends, like people are friends at Salesforce. That it'll be fun to see.
Right.
And then there's also who do you see first? Like who's the first person you saw besides the person you came with?
You.
Well, no, wasn't it? Was it me, the first person you saw?
I saw you.
Oh, okay. Ugh. Moving on. All right, Justin, what did you do last night?
I went to a little, I'm going to call it wine and cheese event.
Okay.
A little mixer.
Okay.
For a little nonprofit that's starting up called PepUp Tech. So they're starting up here. They're actually doing it across the United States, but I think it started up here in New York. And everyone who started it is members of the Salesforce user group community across the U.S. So here, Chicago, I think there's out in California, and it's going to look to get started in Detroit from what I heard last night. They exist to introduce children, young adults to computer science, not just Salesforce, but computer science in general. And what they do is they partner with organizations to give them tools and resources to integrate computer science into their existing curriculum. And their focus is specifically on low-income communities and people who are underrepresented in the technology industry. So they have a couple different programs that they focus on. One is a Salesforce summer boot camp. So they did their first one last year at Monroe College. There are 2 students that graduated, and they were both there last night. It was really cool to hear their stories. And they graduated from the program, and they're now working in the Salesforce ecosystem, which is really cool.
I've heard this ecosystem is big.
It's a big, booming ecosystem. It's definitely a format that can be replicated over time and expanded to other schools. And it's a really good pipeline to internship programs because they're coming out with very specific skills, Salesforce skills, that can be applied to whether it be consulting or, helping out an admin. What does an admin want at a big company? They want someone to go, well, when someone wants to reset the password, please go reset the password. Data loading routines, like go do that stuff, right? And then there's another program called the Summer Explorers Program, which is done in partnership with local summer day camp programs, so grade school aged students. And they basically get computers and computer science in their daily activities. They're piloting this summer program with a school in the South Bronx. And that's what the fundraiser that I attended was for getting equipment, scholarships. Arkus was a sponsor. We sponsored the event and provided enough so that one student can go through the entire 7-week program without that being a burden on their family. So we put a student through this Summer Explorer program, which is great.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, it was really great just to hear the stories.
Brought to us by our employee at Arkus, who works on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. And friends of Arkus who started it.
Friends of Arkus.
It's very cool. A lot of people there, people in the community, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
It was a very nice event.
Awesome.
Really well done. Very touching.
All right. Speaking of touching things.
That was terrible. Really, that was awful.
Let's touch on.
And that's something I would say. And you would yell at me.
Let's touch on your CloudFocus app pick of the week. Is that better? We'll take it out in post. We'll just redo that one. Take it out in post.
Oh my god, that was really bad. Why don't you go first?
No, not for 262 times in a row. I'm not gonna change it up.
I have to find it, and like what it's actually called because I know what I want to pick, but I need to.
We'll just talk about it.
It's a Salesforce Labs product for Lightning. Basically, there's a Lightning component that you can have that ships with Salesforce out of the box. It's a task component that goes typically on the homepage, and it really just shows today's tasks. So there's a My Tasks component created by Salesforce Labs that allows you to see more than just today's tasks, because today's tasks isn't always useful. You sometimes want to see today plus overdue, or you want to see, overdue and due in the next 7 days, because maybe you could do something today that, is due in 2 days, but you want to just do it. So today's tasks is not always useful, because if there's nothing due today, there's nothing in the component.
Right.
So
and there's no flipper in the component.
There's no flipper. There's
more.
Nothing.
If
there is something in there, then there's a link that says like more, and then you can go see other stuff.
So you should have a repeating task that goes
just shows up every day.
That shows up and tells you to look at your more tasks.
Anyway, there's a My Task component that allows you to view, create, and edit your tasks inside of the Lightning app. It works really nice on the mobile. It works really nice on the desktop, and it's the one that we generally use to sort of replace the today's tasks, because people want to see that stuff on their homepage. They're used to seeing that stuff on their homepage. It is useful information to see on your homepage. So why not give a better component? And the overdue stuff gets lost when you have like today's tasks. The stuff you missed, it's gone. It's not in your view.
This is, we talk a lot about Lightning, and we definitely say the things that are wrong and bad with Lightning or that need to be fixed. But the components, the idea of components, and the concept behind them, and the technology behind them, and then hopefully the proliferation of components in the App Exchange is going to make people's lives easier. And these things are easier to build. They're easier to deploy. They're great. So I'm loving that this is becoming more and more in our world, and we're changing the way we think about Salesforce as a platform. Even you and I were doing again, more kimono opening. We were doing a lightning readiness for Arkus, and we were kind of going over how would we do what we do in Lightning, because we do specific things. And some of it we're like, this is going to be better. Some of it we're like, oof, that doesn't work. Some of it we have to build custom components to do certain things. So it was a kind of an interesting way of looking at it. And I think this is the thing that Salesforce isn't talking about, which I'm kind of not happy with them about it. They're not talking about, they're saying turn it on and flip it over and go over there. But that's actually not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to look at how you're using Salesforce Classic, and then match and figure out, can I make things different or better, and really think through the process and the user experience of using Lightning in a different way. Not just turn on the product, but can I make, am I thinking now more of an app architecture versus, we started off looking at profiles, because that's what we know. It's like, actually, let's think more about them than apps, because I can make Lightning specific pages per app. That makes more sense. Where should people land? How many tabs? Like, there's a lot to think about that I don't think that they're putting part of the story, and I wish they'd make part of the story. I think because they don't want to scare people off.
Yeah. And it's also not just running the Lightning readiness tool.
No.
Like, don't just run that, and if it says go, just flip it on.
Well, flip it on if you want to test it.
Sure, but you're not ready.
Roll it out to every user.
Yeah, you're not ready at that point. No. It means technically you're ready, but emotionally you're not ready.
Because what you should be doing, and I know we're kind of going a little
remove the emotion.
You should be thinking about, how am I making the business process better? What tools am I using that Lightning has that Classic didn't? How am I making it better? How am I making it less clicks? How am I making it more more productive with the system? Not just, I'm flipping on the same stupid thing I had before. Because if you actually do that, your productivity will go down. Because Lightning, if you just flip it on, you're not getting more. You're actually kind of making things harder. So you want to think, well, how would I make this better? Okay, now I have the tools to do that. So anyway, I'll make my pick quick. Uber, Lyft, Get, whatever. Well, we were with somebody the other day. Whatever. Those are all ride sharing. Well, now there's a new. It's only here in New York, I think. Maybe a couple places.
Great pick.
Maybe 3.
Everyone can use it.
Well, everybody uses it. They were all here for New York Tour. It's called Juno.
And it's a good job.
It's a ride sharing app. Their whole thing, their mission was to give more money to the drivers, happy passengers, and that they had a little bit higher standards for who was a Juno driver. So obviously with all these services, drivers they're all of them. So we were in an Uber the other day, and he had his Juno thing sitting there. He actually had 4 screens going.
Yeah, he was like Lyft. He was everything.
Yeah, it was everything.
He was not a good driver.
It actually makes this pick terrible, because he wasn't very good at actually getting us where we needed to go. He was 20 minutes late. Or getting us there, because he kept making bad decisions. clearly was not a New York cab driver because they would never make those turns. Anyway, so Juno, and it's cheaper. So it's actually cheaper than Uber. It's now becoming a little bit kind of a pain because you have to think, well, all right, let me go in. We took a huge Uber the other day, and I went into 2 apps to figure it out. I probably should have taken 3 apps and said, okay, which one of these 3 apps is going to get me there with the better experience and maybe cheaper? Because it could be big differences. But Juno, it's free, of course. Nice sign-up process. The whole process, like literally to get in and sign up, was maybe 2 minutes on the phone. And they're supposed to have better, give back more to the drivers, a little bit cheaper, and a little bit higher standard for what kind of car and thing like that. So, all right, well, that's it. We'll be back next week, or probably not, maybe the week after. We got summer 17 is around the corner. The blog posts are starting to pile up. We're getting out there. Hopefully there's more people writing about it than just me, because the release notes are out, or the preview release notes, and you start getting the notices. So we're going to start talking about summer. There's some nice stuff in there I'm already kind of excited about. But until then, it is actually a cloudy day, so you should enjoy it. That's what we always say. Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.